Invader!
Hi guys, Bones here. Today I'm going to showcase my Archmage Demon Form build that I've been working on. I spent quite a bit of time on this build trying to get it to work. This build can get some insane DPS, but there's a lot of moving pieces in this build, so let's just get straight into it. The first major part of this build is the Demon Form. While in Demon Form, we gain 24% cast speed and +6 to all spells. We gain 17% spell power per Demon Flame, but we lose 0.5% of our life per second per Demon Flame. This spell increase goes up to 18% at max. The goal here is to have low max HP and high life regen. The smaller the gap, the more stacks we can have. I have 298 life and about 283 life regen. With this small gap, I'm able to push over 250 Demon Flare stacks, and getting 200 stacks is very easy and comfortable. This is over a 4,000% increase to our spell damage, which is huge. So, how do we manage to get low max HP and high regen? Let's start with max HP. There's a couple things we do to reduce our max HP. The first thing we do is run Ghostwrithe Tattered Robe. This piece is the core piece to this build for two reasons, one which we will touch on later. This robe converts 58% of our max life to energy shield, which essentially reduces our HP by 58%. This item's base is actually 50% of max life converted to energy shield, but mine's corrupted, so it's 58%. I've seen this go up to 61%. Then we further reduce our HP by running Ming's Heart Amethyst Ring. This ring reduces our max HP by 25%. Again, the base value of this item is actually 20%, but I have a corrupted version which gives me 25%. I've seen this go up to 27%. Then we run Heavy Buffer in our passive tree for an additional 10% reduced maximum life. The last way we keep low max HP is simply by avoiding strength. In this build, we run very low strength because 1 strength grants 2 life, and we just do not want life. Now, something to note, you get max HP every time you level, so the gap between max HP and life regen gets harder the higher level you are. There's also 2 permanent buffs you get for max HP during the campaign, and you're going to want to avoid that. If you already have these buffs, it's not the end of the world, and this build can still work. Now, how do we scale our life regeneration rate? There's 3 things we do to scale our life regen high. First is that we get life regen on every piece of gear. We have it on our helmet, our amulet, our ring, our boots, our belt, but we don't have it on our gloves because it can't roll here. Then we take Resilient Soul in our passive tree for 20% increased life regeneration rate and full recovery for 15% life regeneration rate. The last thing we do to scale our life regen is by taking as many jewel sockets as we can and putting rubies in them. You can get 15% increased life rate on each one. Now let's go over Flesh Catalyst. This adds quality that enhances life modifiers on our ring or amulet. This will make it so we get more life regen on our ring, more life regen on our amulet, and it also scales our reduced maximum life. So base value, this is 20%, and with these quality, it goes up to 24%. Mine's corrupted, so I have 25%. Now that we understand how to use Demon Form and how to get high Demon Flare stacks, we're going to cover the second part of this build, which is Archmage. Archmage gives 9% damage as extra lightning damage for each 100 maximum mana that we have, but it increases our spell cost by 5%. Now this is something important to note, is that Archmage gets an increase to lightning damage bonus at both levels 16 and 21. So it's important to get a level 19 Archmage gem, corrupt it for an extra level, and then use Lightning Mastery to bump it up to 21. Also, don't forget to quality your gem before you corrupt it. So essentially, we get 100% more damage every 1.1k of mana that we have. As you can see, we're at about 3.2k mana, so we're pushing up to 300% more damage as lightning. Now, how do we get this much mana? First, we take max mana and intelligence on as many pieces of our gear. We have it on our helmet, our amulet, our ring, our boots, our belt, and our gloves. Now keep in mind, life regeneration rate, intelligence, and resistances are all suffixes. Since life regeneration is mandatory, it means that we have to choose between 2 resistances or 1 resistance and 1 intelligence on our gear. This depends on your current gear and how much resistance you need. The goal is to have max resistances. Next, we stack intelligence in our passive tree. The only time you should take dexterity is if you need a dexterity capacity slot in our skill links. We also take mana blessing and calibration for more increased maximum mana. Now, the major way for us to scale our max mana very high is with Eldritch Battery. This converts all energy shield to mana. Now, this does not include any global increase to our energy shield, such as the passives in our tree. So for example, we have 3191 mana. If we go over here and we take off this node, that gives us 25 increased maximum energy shield. We have the same amount of mana. So that means Eldritch Battery only converts the energy shield that we get from our gear, which means it's super important to get as much energy shield on our gear because this will give us more mana and essentially give us more damage. Now, you're probably wondering how I have energy shield while running Eldritch Battery. This is because of Ghostwrithe's Tattered Robe. Like I said, Eldritch Battery does not take the global modifiers to energy shield. This robe converts 58% of our max life to energy shield, which is a global modifier. Which means that this 58% of our max life as energy shield is not converted to mana, but actually still gets converted to energy shield. But we have such low life, so how are we having 3.5k energy shield? Well, this 58% of max life as energy shield is increased by all of our global energy shield modifiers that's not affected to Eldritch Battery. So all of these nodes that increase our maximum energy shield is applied to the energy shield we get from our robe, which scales it up all the way to 3.5k. This brings us to survivability and defense. Since we have low life, we need to scale our energy shield as high as we can, and we do that through our passive tree. We take quite a bit of nodes that increase our maximum energy shield, as well as recharge rate, as again, our energy shield is our main defense. Then we take asceticism, which makes our stun threshold based on our energy shield rather than our life. Since we have such low life, this is the only way we get stun threshold, and it is mandatory for this build. Without it, you'll get stunned a ton. Then we want to get max resistances. Resistances are very strong in this game, so make sure to max out your resistances or get as close to max as you can through our gear. Now, currently, this is all this build has for defense, but once I get more levels and more passive points, my plan is to get a lot of more nodes in mana regeneration rate and take mind over matter. This will make it so all damage is taken from mana before life, which essentially gives us 3.2k more survivability. Now that we understand how the build functions, let's go over everything else. First, our skill gems. For Demon Form, we run Second Wind, which gives us an extra usage of Demon Form, which makes it so we have permanent uptime on our Demon Form. Next is Archmage, and like I said earlier, we run Lightning Mastery for +1 to lightning skills, and then we corrupt our gem to get +21 for that extra bonus in damage as lightning. Next, we run Mana Tempest. Mana Tempest buffs our damage, but also makes it so our spells cost more mana. We run this with Premeditation for an extra 15% more damage. Next, is Spark. So for Spark, we run Arcane Temple for more cast speed, Inspiration for 40% less cost, Acceleration for 40% more projectile speed, and Controlled Destruction for 30% more damage. We also run Arcane Surge as a way for us to get Arcane Surge on the build, and we can keep this up at 100% of time. And it is a pretty big damage increase. Now, while I said I ran Acceleration and Controlled Destruction on my Spark, these are more personal preferences, and there is a couple more options that we can take. The first option is Considered Casting. This gives 40% more damage with spell hits. This is a pretty good damage increase, but I personally did not take it because I didn't want to take the reduction in cast speed, as I feel like our build doesn't have enough cast speed as it is. The next option is Pierce. Most people run Pierce on their Spark. I personally don't run it, but this will make clearing way better. And the last option is Persistence. This makes it so our Spark has 40% more skill effect duration, making them last much longer. Next, we use Orb of Storms. We mainly use Orb of Storms for lightning exposure just to reduce the resistance of bosses when we're fighting them. And then we use Strip Away to make exposure better. And we use Conduction to make it 100% more chance to shock because it will apply lightning exposure when it shocks an enemy. Then we use Conductivity for an additional reduction in lightning resistance on bosses. And we run that with Heightened Curse and Focus Curse. After this, all the additional spells are personal preference and not really required on the build. You can run Flame Wall for more damage on your projectiles. I personally really like Frost Wall for single target damage, but it's really all up to you. Now, I've went over gear a few times throughout the video, but I'll go over it one more time. For uniques, you want Ghostwrithe Tattered Robe and Ming's Heart Amethyst Ring. For our helmet, we are looking for increased energy shield, maximum mana, life regeneration rate, and either 2 resistances or 1 resistance and 1 intelligence. For our amulet, we are mainly looking for life regenerate, 2 resistances or intelligence, maximum mana, increased energy shield, and if we can get a solar amulet, a spirit roll would also be very nice. If we can get 60 spirit from our amulet, we can use a cast on, or we can use an aura on the build, which will just further increase the damage. For our ring, we are looking for cast speed, increased lightning damage, maximum mana, intelligence, resistance, and more life regen. For our boots, we are looking for increased movement speed, increased energy shield, maximum mana, life regen, and resistances or intelligence. For our belt, we are looking for maximum mana, 2 resistances, and life regeneration rate. And for our gloves, we are looking for maximum mana, and either 3 resistances or 2 resistances and 1 intelligence. Now, I've went over the passive tree a few times throughout the video, but I'll just do a quick overview. This first section focuses on maximum energy shield. We come over here to convert stun threshold to energy shield instead of life. We pick up some energy recharge over here, and then we come down here for more life regenerate. Here is more energy shield again, as well as that big 10% reduced maximum life. We pick up the jewel socket over here, and then we continue the tree over here to get more energy shield over here, as well as some mana regenerate. And we pick up the socket. Up here, we get energy shield recharge rate. This right here will increase our mana regen, as well as our arcane surge effect on us. Another jewel socket. More maximum energy. Jewel socket. Then this right here, pure power and arcane intensity are 2 big damage increases. And while we're doing that, we also pick up 25 intelligence and 60% increased maximum energy shield. Of course, we take Eldritch Battery for more mana and a jewel socket right there. And then for these 2 trees, we take skill effect duration and projectile speed. These are just both for making our spark better. And another jewel socket. This will be in the build planner if you want to take a better look at it. And that's the build. There will be a build planner in the link below, like I mentioned. I'm going to end this video with a tier 16 to showcase the build. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe, as it helps me out a ton. Thank you for watching, and until next time.
I will put you down! death take you. All part of my plan. Another corpse to serve me.